We're rolling.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Round 2.
Oh.
Fight! We're
Oh.
back. Shut up.
It's January. It's January.
Yep.
It's January.
I hope we don't start the show like this.
This is how the show started.
It sounds awful.
It's too bad. This is how it starts.
I don't think so.
Just get over it.
Danny's half of the show will start this way. My start of the show will be a close zoom in on my nipples and my new Dark Side t-shirt that I bought.
Welcome back. It's episode 2 of Comics Unbagged podcast. That's my first
Just add 50 more likes in there and we get this thing going.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for all the likes and everything and all the subscriptions. We seem to be pulling ahead quite nicely now. The last time we hit 1,000 and we put out our video thanking everyone. And I think you were saying today we're already up to 1,600 likes.
Yep. It was only about a month ago that we made our last video where we reached 1,000, and now we're at 1,600.
Yeah, that's pretty progressive, I would say.
Doing good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. Well, we're noticing a lot of shares, and we're noticing a lot of likes and everything. So it's all certainly appreciated. We really love our fans and everything. So if you stick by us, we'll stick by you, and we'll try to be as forthcoming and I would say as truthful to you and ourselves as we possibly can.
If you call us at 3 in the morning, we won't change the tire on your car, but we'll call someone that will.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
A lot of love.
I mean, we're there for you. We're kind of not there for you, but we're there for you.
It's the thought. Okay.
All right. Well, let's talk about some shit these people actually care about.
Comics.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I know we both watched a documentary recently on Hulu. It was very good. It was called Batman and Bill by Mark Tyler Nobleman, about the true man behind the cowl, if you will. Yeah,
this was definitely he put out a book, and he also put out a documentary around May of last year. And honestly, the only reason I heard about it is because you said it just got released on Hulu.
Yeah, I watched it a few weeks ago. I mean, you know, I'm a massive Batman fan. He's my favorite DC character.
And you thought it was such a great documentary that, you know, we should kind of talk about it and touch on it. Because, he's such an iconic, character and figure in our society these days that...
Yeah.
And this was such huge news that it needed to be covered.
Yeah, one of the biggest properties in all of the medium. You know, we got TV shows, movies, all toys, clothing,
anything,
everything.
Soap. Anything.
Stuff that shouldn't be Batman.
Yeah, condoms. I bet you I could find a Batman
Panties.
condom.
Like, it's all over the place.
In any case, yeah, like, he's definitely well-deserved to have this documentary, especially when finding out about something so huge. And what we're talking about is that they suddenly found out, I should say, what's his name, Mark Nobleman?
Yep.
Suddenly, he was basically like the detective for a supposed ghostwriter that worked for Bob Kane by the name of William Finger. And Bob Kane had the connection to DC Comics, and he saw how well Superman was doing.
Yeah.
And how much money the Superman character was making.
Yeah, I think it's the creators of Superman, when they originally put it out and were still working for DC and everything was still hunky-dory, he said they were taking home $800 a week.
Which was major money to those guys back then.
Yeah.
And
dude, I'd be happy with $800 a week today.
Yeah.
Like, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. What am I talking about?
But back then, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, so Bob Kane's like, I already have connection to DC Comics.
Yeah.
I want to make my own, like, Superman or superhero type character.
Yeah.
And he went to DC, and, I mean, what was the occurrence? They thought, who was the one that thought that it should be on the opposite end, the dark end of it?
Well, basically, Bob Kane came up with an idea because I just rewatched it again before we did this, for it to be a little more fresh. And they told him, like, we want you to have a superhero out by, like, Monday. So he's like, all right, I got Batman. And Batman's original idea was a full, like, red suit with black boots, blonde hair, like a little Robin mask.
The domino mask.
Yeah, and actually, like, hard wings. And then Bill Finger came in and was like, well, that's not scary. So he put a cowl on him, made the colors darker, made a cape so it gave the appearance of wings, which is a bit more clever,
Yeah.
and just kind of redesigned the character to the original, from the very first
The
appearance.
Batman that everyone knows.
From 1939,
Yeah. Like, put the emblem on his chest. So basically what happened was Bob Kane created the name and had somewhat of a concept, but William Finger came in and tweaked it to the Batman that everyone knows and loves today.
Yeah, Bob Kane, like you said, had the connection with DC, and he didn't bring Bill Finger to these offices of DC with him, but instead he had a mutual agreement, like, all right, hey, let's work on this character. Since I know these bigwig guys, I'm going to go deliver the story to them, and then I'll split what we make off of it 50-50. But you're never on the credit. It's always Bob Kane.
Yeah, because he said that hey, I have the connection here.
Yeah, and it was a mutual agreement, but there was never an actual contract in the mix,
Right. But the problem is that Batman obviously continued forward, and Robin was created. The Joker was created. Like, who did William Finger create here? Like,
I had to write it down because I actually couldn't memorize it all. He is responsible for Batman, Robin, co-creator of the Joker, Catwoman, Riddler, Penguin, Scarecrow, Commissioner Gordon, the character of Bruce Wayne, the character of Dick Grayson. He's the first person to ever write a story with the Batmobile in it and call it that, the Batcave. He's the one who came up with the origin, which is like 2 pages of, Bruce's tragic story that defined everything we know and love about Batman.
Yeah, I think he came up even with the name Gotham.
Yeah.
For Gotham City.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about the entire Batman universe.
Yeah. And some of the Golden Age creators, Jerry Robinson, who's a co-creator of the Joker, said, like, in this documentary on camera, he should have been credited for the creation of Batman, because he knew both of them during the time. He was another Golden Age person at the time. And then another person by the name of Carmine Infantino is an artist of Batman in the 60s. He redefined the, like, Adam West look when Bob Kane stopped doing the art for Batman. And he even was quoted saying, like, Bill was the Batman. Like, if you knew him, if you talked to him, like, he made that character around how he was.
Interesting. That's very cool. Now, the problem with all this is that there's a difference between a ghostwriter and doing something that Bill Finger did. Mm-hmm. Like, at this point, when you create everything, when you're literally the creator of everything, you're not a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
You're the creator.
Yeah.
At the very least, you're the co-creator.
Yeah.
Of something, of a concept that was originally thought of, that you took over, and now you're creating.
Yeah.
Like, all these things, what I mean?
Putting it humbly would be saying he's the co-creator.
Yeah. It's sort of like, a good way to put it, to me, is like, okay, yeah, all these people in DC, does all this stuff. Bob Kane supposedly created Batman. Then all of a sudden the animated series comes around, and then Harley Quinn is created.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean that just because Bob Kane created Batman or DC took over Batman, that they also created Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so technically, Bob Kane didn't create any of that stuff. William Finger created all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's like the way I look at it, because he was basically creating stuff and like, here, you do all the work of it and I'll just take my cut. But then once it blows up and you start getting all these deals, then it's like, well, wait a minute, like...
Yeah, then the
be two
60s
names
start
there.
happening,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, the Batman merchandise is flying out the window.
Yeah, and it propelled Bob Kane into like a celebrity. Like, you could see this documentary is amazing. All this information that we're telling you guys, you go look these facts up. You'll see them again in the documentary. But I mean, it's just cool because they have a lot of pictures, videos, stuff that supports everything that they're laying out there for you to see. And, you could see when the 60s stuff was taken off and Bob Kane was, in his, like, suits and going to all these social parties and parading around as, like, Bruce Wayne, like, oh, the living Bruce Wayne. But yet, in the meantime, like, Bill Finger was just, like, not,
Yeah.
He actually was the only Batman writer who worked for the comic books to be credited in writing a Batman episode, too, for that show, which is kind of cool.
Right, the Batman 66.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one time that I noticed that in the documentary that he actually stepped up and he was like, hey, I kind of want my name on this.
Yeah, the top billing.
Yeah. And the dude, don't remember the guy's name.
I don't either.
But he's like, sure, no
Yeah,
problem.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're happy to give it to you.
And he wasn't credited again in like film from the 60s until Batman versus Superman. That was the first time his name appeared. Like
That was after everything had come out. That was after Nobleman contacted his son, and his son, he ended up not finding out about his son because his son had passed away of AIDS in 1992. Mm-hmm. And then he had found out that son actually had a daughter. So, I mean, this Nobleman guy literally went detective all over the story's ass.
Yeah, which props to that guy. Like, major credit to him. He did a phenomenal job tracking all this down, and I think he said it took him a period of 10 years. Like, his little kids grew up like with the household name of Bill Finger when people with long boxes full of Batman stuff in their closet would be like, well, who's that guy?
Yeah.
I never read about him.
Yeah. Even his daughter was like, what does your daddy do for a living? And she's like, Bill Finger.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, who's Bill Finger? He's like, Batman.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, to me, it really gripped me because I was also at the time watching the Robert Kirkman Secret History of Comic Books, and there was 2 episodes in that. One was about the creators of Superman, who most people would know that story, but if you haven't, you should definitely look it up because it was very tragic. They had to fight so hard to get back the thing they created that is one of the most popular things ever in the world, like all genres aside.
Yeah.
And then you look at what happened with like Jack Kirby, more people know those. This is actually really recent. I think this just came out this last year.
May 2017.
Yeah.
This documentary dropped.
Yeah.
And like Cameron was saying, the credit did not go to William Finger in any Batman title until Batman versus Superman came out, which is 2 years ago.
Yeah. Not very long. As big a Batman fan as I am, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It literally is an untold story until you get the story, told.
Yeah, he was actually
told to you.
he was going around comic conventions handing out shirts saying like Bill Finger created Batman, and he was asking mega fans of Batman like, all right, well, what's the Riddler's real name? And he would ask him all these questions. Or like, and all right, now here's a big Batman question: Who's Bill Finger? And he's like, I don't know that one. I have never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know that guy. Like, probably thought it was a character. I would have probably too. Like,
Yeah. Well, eventually he found what was known in the documentary now as the heir of Batman. Like when he found her, he said it appeared like a name in a marquee that said like the heir of Batman.
Because he was, couldn't find any living relative, and he finally did. Her name's Athena Finger, and she took up the charge with him. They fought until they finally got him the credit he deserved, which, I mean, it's from what it sounded like, DC always was like, we have no problem recognizing him. It's just then you have to backtrack with all the money and everything, and like, how do you then divvy it up after you've already, after you already have your
Right. Well,
pie
now,
sliced up? You got to put. All right, everyone, put your pieces back together.
right. Well, now DC's got to go back to lawyers, pay new lawyers to draw up all these new contracts. And if you're going to draw up a new contract, then a contract is now open for debate. So, that's probably the last thing they want to do.
Yeah.
Since they already have, like, a mega contract already set for Bob Kane and Bob Kane's family.
Yeah.
They probably didn't want to disrupt that, which, I mean, from a business point of view, totally makes sense. But from the original creator's point of view, like, there was no stopping that. Because in the documentary, this dude was going to conventions and sharing all this information about this, and then he was like, "What do you think about this?" And then all of a sudden, the fans were going to DC panels and were like, "Is William Finger going to get credit on this? Is he going to get the the affirmation credit on all this stuff now that we figured out he's a co-creator of Batman?"
Yeah, the people took up the charge. Like, this documentary has a lot of really credible people in there, like Kevin Smith, Todd McFarlane, some of the Golden Age editors and writers we mentioned earlier. And they're just basically saying that, like, it's... I lost my thought.
Basically, even Kevin Smith, he was like, William Finger's Dark Knight. Like, this Mark Tyler Nobleman guy. He basically rallied the people together, and without the people, like, this wouldn't have happened.
That's where I was going with it. He also was saying, like, comic readers in particular, they're not like people are going to actually put on costumes and go out and fight in the streets. Our fight's more like here. You fight for the things that, like, are good and right in the world, and people stepped up and, respect, homage, or appreciation, whatever you want to call it, of Bill Finger and what.
Yeah, so like in that DC panel, they were like, "Is he gonna get credit?"
Yeah.
DC. What did they say?
They
were
would
like,
say we're good with the.
"We're
Finger
good
family.
with the Finger family,"
And they were like,
they didn't
"No."
really answer anything, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
And then there was a big note that went out from Athena Finger and her lawyers saying, like, "No, we're not good.
Yeah.
We're actually not good."
Yeah.
Like, they brought us on sets, and we were going to premieres, and they showed us a great time in New York, but the one thing that they cared about was getting the notoriety of her grandfather on Batman.
Yeah, it was kind of like they were trying to do everything but.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's some money, like, here's this, come do that. It's like, I don't want tickets to the Lakers game again. That was the 10th time this month. I don't know how sports ball works, but there's probably not that many games.
Yeah. What are the Lakers?
Is it a team of Quidditch or something?
Oh, all right. Anyway, back to Batman. So, in any
that's
case,
kind of towards the end of the documentary. I mean,
yeah. In any case, it was sad. Like, they were going to the lengths of avoiding it, and they finally got on board where it showed in Batman vs. Superman, William Finger was credited. It was a nice ending.
But it's tragic. It kind of like how when you read a Batman comic, sometimes it's like the Bat won, but he kind of didn't win at the same time. Like, this man died alone on his couch. Like, someone found him laying there watching a black and white TV with like a blanket up to his face, and he was just working as a writer, not even for comic books.
He was just like, he didn't even get a headstone or a marker.
Yeah.
He was just put in an unknown grave.
Yeah.
And eventually they found him later,
field.
right?
Yeah, they said like he was put into a potter's field. The obituary read like "No history, no family." The guy who created fucking Batman, no history, no family. Like,
that's so fucked up.
Dude's one of the most influential people of all time, arguably.
Yeah.
And so they said that, but then later on, there's rumors of a story that his son actually took his ashes to a beach and wrote the bat symbol in it and poured them in the bat symbol and let it like carry
and let
it
the
out.
Ocean carry it out.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That makes you happy.
Yeah. That was so cool.
But nonetheless, it was a great documentary.
Yeah, highly recommended. He also wrote a book, wasn't it, like Bill the Boy Wonder or something like that?
I think
that inspired the documentary.
Yeah, he's wrote, I think it said 75 books in the thing.
Okay,
A
well-
lot of them children's books. One of them was a biography of the two creators of Superman.
Oh, right.
I don't want to sound stupid and get their names mixed up. I know, they both their names start with J and both last
Shuster and
names.
Siegel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jerry and
Yeah. Okay, so we highly recommend that. Check it out. Please do watch
Very
it.
good.
It's on Hulu. If not, you can find it in other places on the internet. I did. And I streamed and watched it last night without having Hulu. So you can probably do the same. Or don't be a cheap piece of shit and buy Hulu.
A lot of other cool things came with the Hulu. Like, I'm going to check out Marvel Runaways, but I have not got to yet. It looks really cool.
Yeah. I'm going to have to come over and we're going to have like a sleepover popcorn night or something.
Ooh.
Let's keep it civil.
Okay.
Anyway, all right, so moving on. But what was really cool is I actually looked up this documentary for one last thing. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100.
Oh, I did not know that.
They gave it 100 on a documentary. So, I mean, how often do they do that? They don't. So,
Yeah. I don't usually agree with their critiques of things unless it lines up with my own critiques.
Yeah, if you want to know how we feel, watch our last podcast on that.
I mean, like, yeah, anywhere in between. Like, if they put it at 100, then it's like, okay, this has something to it. But also, if they put it at 0, okay, well, there's a reason. Anything in between's like fair game to debate.
Yeah.
Like, if you give Uncle Buck a 30%, I'll throat punch you in the face. Like,
Well, other notable sources, IGN gave it an 8.5 and IMDb gave it an 8.3. So don't take our word for it. Go check it out yourself.
I would give it a 5 out of 5.
I would give it 5 bats out of 5 bats.
It's a lot of bats.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about. Let me ask you this. Let's float into Star Wars. What'd you think about Star Wars?
I liked it. How about you?
I liked it.
All right, so
Moving on.
So
No one else really gives a shit at this point, right?
I think we've already all been down that trail a few times.
Yeah. We could say we like it, and that's enough. If you want to know everybody else on Earth's opinion, just go ahead and click on the World Wide Web and fuck yourself. Because everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
So all we can say is we liked it.
Yeah. And it's coming from all fandoms, longtime fans, new fans. It's like there's no side really to be on. It's just, did you like it? Yeah, I liked it. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
well then that's really all that matters. At the end of the day, we actually have been watching this other local podcast by the name of Nerd Chat. A couple of friends of Cameron's.
Yeah, Ricky and Josh. They do some really good stuff. They have a
And
great
they
Star
actually
Wars.
went through and really took the draw and went through and dissected this movie and gave their opinion about it, which I watched their podcast, and a lot of the stuff was agreeable.
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff they actually made a lot of sense on.
Yeah,
And they were very positive with it.
Yeah, and addressed all the very simple to like major criticisms that.
So if you're
echo
really
their
into wanting to see, that side of Star Wars and you want to get into it a little deeper, I suggest checking out Nerd Chat. We were a little late to the party, so we don't want to drown our opinion along with everybody else.
You guys have heard it already. It was a month ago. It's like so 2000 and late. Wow, that was bad. Okay, so how about the new Batman? Did you read the new Batman? That was really interesting.
No,
Batman 38, I believe, just came out a couple weeks ago.
no, I'm behind. I think I got like 2 books to read before I catch up.
It was really interesting. It doesn't, I don't think, have like a continuation from it. But
Was it like a one shot?
It seems like it. It seems like the story wrapped itself up by the end of it. But it was definitely something I haven't seen before. And it was basically like Bruce Wayne got his first like psychotic fan who like wanted to become Bruce Wayne. You know, like all this like really crazy stuff to where like basically he was responsible for his parents getting, you know, murdered and like paid his butler to do it. So he's trying to like become Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't know about Batman. He just wants to be that orphan who's like, oh, he's got all this money and everyone loves him and he does such good stuff. And it was pretty twisted, but it was really neat.
That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. He carves
basically
Thomas and Martha on the sides of his face.
that's the beginning of a good Batman villain.
Right.
So basically, he wants to be Bruce Wayne no matter what, but he doesn't know the connection to Batman.
No.
The best part of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, basically.
That's like I don't know. That's like Harry Osborn like getting a chub for Peter and not knowing he's Spider-Man or something like that. That's kind of out there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the beginning of a decent. I can see it becoming a decent, like new
Show up
psychotic
again.
Batman villain or
Right.
something like that. So he's got Martha and Thomas Wayne like carved on his face.
Yeah, basically when Batman found him towards the end of the issue and was like turning him into Arkham, he had it fresh. He just carved like each name on each side of his face, and he was just like, ah, you know, and it was like, Jesus, kid, like go play Xbox or something. Like, it's just
That is pretty wild, man.
pretty cool.
Next,
Comic
comic books. DC. Anything else going on in DC?
Super Sons of Tomorrow is a really great story. Did you hear about the Tim Drake of Tomorrow showing up in Detective Comics recently?
No.
Basically, an older Tim Drake showed up in Detective
Oh wait,
Comics.
yeah, I did.
Yeah, and he basically was like trying to right things that he felt was wrong from his time, and you know, he was Batman because Dick Grayson didn't ever want to really be Batman, so he just didn't become Batman. You know, Jason, like I think he said his leg got blown off or something, and so he couldn't be Batman. And like Damian, he referenced the Grant Morrison like 666 Damian, who like gets older and evil and all that. So they kind of fought, and he took him out basically. And he's like Tim Drake on steroids, and they basically send him back at the end of the Detective Comics run. But then he comes back through the time stream to stop Superman's son Jonathan Kent from recreating an event that killed millions. Basically from their supernova power, was like an expenditure of energy where you just, you know, it just is released in a huge blast radius. Tim Drake from the future, Red Robin, says that it killed millions. So he's coming back to kill Superman's son. It's like, good luck with that.
No, man.
So the first thing he does is he goes after Batman, which, you know, is just a really drawn out, like, really gritty, cool fight, at the end of which I think Tim draws a gun, and he, like, goes to shoot the chandelier, and Bruce is like, you know, like, alternate version of you are not, like, a gun, really. Like, you're better than that. And, you know, then you see, like, the panel flips. And Superman, he encases him in this, like, red kryptonite prism that was one of, like, Bruce's designs and neutralizes him. And he's like, all right, time to go after the kid now. And at the time, the Titans are doing a mission, and Superboy's kind of, like, helping them, like, basically saves their ass. And they're like, what was that? Like, what'd you do, Wally? And he's like, I didn't do anything. And they're like, Damian's like, all right. Throws this like canister up in the air and it like bursts and like knocks him out. It, like he falls and he's like, Starfire, catch Superboy. Just like catches him because he could figure it was the only other person it would have been.
So what was he just like flying in the air?
He was just helping really fast.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay.
Because you just see a red blur go by, and I was like, oh, I wonder if the Flash is there, but I totally brain farted, you know. And basically, this Tim Drake of Tomorrow shows up, and after engaging the Titans, he takes over their tower and shoots this substance on Jonathan that's starting to constrict him, and he can't get it off of him. So he's starting to supernova and do that ability where it's like that huge energy wave, and he just like flies up and lets it go, and it messes him up, and he's kind of like, see, that's what I was talking about, but when he's older it's like way worse.
Okay, so basically the rundown is Tim Drake from Tomorrow realizes that the Superboy from Tomorrow ends up freaking out and letting out this expenditure of energy. So he goes back in time
To try and kill him.
To try to take out the problem before it escalates.
Yeah.
Okay. sounds like some Back to the Future shit, but
Yeah.
sounds interesting.
And it's cool, especially if you're like a longtime Titans fan, because when Tim comes back, of course, what are the Titans going to do? They're not just going to all band together against him. They're like, well, he was a Titan. He still was a Tim Drake. Like, let's talk to him. Maybe we can reason with him. And it divides the Titans. Like, half of them are like, no, fuck this. We got to go, like, save Superboy and protect him. The other half are like, well, if Tim promises to, like, not use lethal means of finishing it, we could help work with each other.
And those that don't know, Superboy is pretty new to the team, so not a lot of the Titans know where his head's at.
He's not even officially on the team. Damian won't let him because he's only 10. It's just like, dude, you're 10. And he's like, but I'm taller than you. And Damian's like, shut up.
It's a cool little. It's a fun book.
Yeah, it was cool.
That is a cool book because it's like it deals with really like explosive things that happen and all this crazy shit. But at the end of the day, they're just kids, and there is an innocence behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is fun.
Yeah. Tim Drake gets a really wicked new suit, though, this future one, because, like, his stuff's all damaged from that explosion at the Titans Tower, so he takes pieces of old prototype suits and makes this new one. Calls himself, like, Savior. And it just looked neat. I was like, okay, the name's kind of but then when, like, you turn the page and you see the name, or the suit, you're like, that's a cool enough suit, I'll give you a pass on that one.
The Savior?
Yeah, I was like, little weak maybe, but that suit's badass.
It should have been bird related or something.
Like bird feed. I don't know. It'd be like if your power was to I don't know.
Feed birds?
It would suck.
Dude, that's Savior's better than that stupid shit.
I don't know, man. Bird feed.
All right. Next time, I'm gonna draw a picture of bird feed.
Oh boy.
And what that guy would look like.
The superhero known as Bird.
Anyway, they probably could have gave him something bird related, right? Like,
yeah,
they can't call him Raven or anything like that, or Falcon, or it's got to be like, what is it? It can't be any. All the birds in DC are covered.
Well, before that, it was just Batman because he was the future's Batman. Like the Titans from his timeline are tracking him too, and it's just like Connor Kent, Superman.
Well, I like the correlation in anybody that's following DC Metals, like the correlation with the bats and birds. Of like the back in the caveman days,
the tribes,
yeah. Like I like that correlation because I know it's supposed to be like Hawkman and Hawkgirl, but it also reminds me of like Batman and Robin and that connection there a little bit, So yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's a little bit with DC. Let's maybe chime over to Marvel a little bit. You just rushed through Old Man Hawkeye #1.
Oh yeah, just devoured that real quick.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Is there any comparison to Old Man Logan?
Oh, yeah. It's wow. Yeah, it starts off.
You read Mark Miller's Old Man Logan?
Yeah, I have it in trade at home.
Right on. So, what do you think? What's the comparison?
It's a good start because it doesn't really give you the whole background of where he got to get this way yet, but the way it starts off is he is escorting I think it's Justin Hammer to some place to make a weapons deal, and he's stopped by this gang of multiple men who are all wearing bandanas and long hair and seem kind of hickish.
Okay, is it actually multiple man?
It is, because he says he's like, come on, man, you gonna really do this to an old friend? And he's like, don't use the name of the progenitor, like that kind of thing. And he's like, all right, what? He's like, man, you must have screwed yourself into inbred stupid,
Oh, so multiples were making multiples.
Yeah,
and now they're not quite as together as Jamie Madrox's original is.
And that's what it seems like. I don't know a lot about his lore like you do with the X-Men stuff, but that's what I got the impression it's just too thin.
Yeah, they can multiple, but if they just like you're saying, if they pull themselves too thin, they end up not being the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah.
Or they start dividing themselves.
Yeah.
So
he basically is like, all right, guys, I'll go to the back of the car and let me just get this. Bow and arrow. You're dead. And he starts dropping people. One of them gets away and he's like, oh, I missed. Like, that's odd. Like, one of them has one through his shoulder and it takes off. And so you get to see, like, a little bit more stuff. He goes to the doctor, and it's actually Claire from the Netflix shows that, like Luke Cage and all that.
Really?
And, yeah, she's, like, really old, and they're just kind of talking about, like, old times with the Avengers and stuff like that. And she's like, you maybe have, like, weeks to a month left for your vision, and then you're going to be, like, blind.
Right. So this is obviously a prologue.
Yeah.
This is a prologue to Old Man Logan, then.
Yeah, so she's like, go see anything you want to see before you can't see anything you want to see anymore. And he goes to visit his daughter. It's kind of very short. She's like, yeah, I beat this kid up because he was picking on some other kid. And he's like, oh, that's good. And she's like, and then I beat up the other kid because he was paying me for protection and didn't give me all the money. And he's like, that's less good. So it was like, okay. And he's like, this isn't going anywhere. So he just kind of leaves, goes to Logan's place, and he's like, hey, I got an Xbox for your kid. It's got a good battery on it. Like, it should work if he wants to play that. And he's like, you should think about coming out with me to do this last mission. And he's like, I can't do it. Basically, like, the whole, like, I'm not popping claws again. And he's like, well, then maybe your kid can play one of those video games and see, like, what an actual hero looks like. And I was like, oh.
Damn. That's interesting.
Yeah. And he kind of bails. And, like, one of the last scenes you see is that multiple dupe that has, like, the arrow through him. He's like, running, sees this pond, and he's like, oh, I just need some water. And then, then I'll let that, like, old bastard win. And he's, like, sipping it. And it's, like, black. And he's like, wait a minute. And, like, the Venom symbiote just, like, is like, we found you. And it's just, like, wrapping him up.
Up that clone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I wonder I don't know how that would work with his power set.
I would think that it really just
way?
needs a host, even if it was, like, a dumb, stupid host.
But can you duplicate Venom that way?
Oh, I don't know.
I have no
another
idea. Clintarian?
I have no idea. That's interesting. So, if you had, like, a week and then you wouldn't be able to see anymore, what would you want to see?
Dude, I don't even know. I would read so many comics, it would speed the process up. That's probably
so you'd have, like, a bunch of comics to think about after you were blind?
Right, yeah. So just art was imprinted into my brain. That would be... What would you go for?
I don't know. I'd probably renew my Brazzers account.
It's a solid move. Solid move.
I don't know. Probably the same as you. There ain't no sunsets in Midwest in January, so
that's the truth.
You got nothing out here except, like, muddy fields and salty cars. That's about it.
It's true.
But there's lots to do. It gives us an excuse to play games and read comics and
stay inside and not go outdoors.
Yeah. So, speaking of Wolverine, like, he's been kind of making little touches back into the Marvel Universe, making little appearances. The first one was obviously at the end of Marvel's Legacy #1. But this week, he made another appearance at the end of Captain America 697. First time I went through it, I didn't even flip to the last page, and I was like, he's not in this book, they're lying. And then I looked in the book again, and he was in the very last page, and it basically, he was trying to meet up with Steve Rogers in a bar to talk about something, and Steve Rogers didn't show, because if you read that book, which, I mean, I won't spoil, I guess. Should I spoil it?
You
anyway,
said spoil 3 times. They have a chance to avoid it.
Don't read that book, I guess, if you're going to... anyway, he gets encased in ice again. So, at the end of the book, Steve Rogers gets entrapped in a big chunk of ice again in the middle of the ocean. And that's why he doesn't show up for the meeting with Wolverine at this bar. And Wolverine's like, leave it to Rogers to be waylaid again. He's always waylaid.
See, I picked that up, and I haven't read it yet, but I don't really mind because we were talking about this a little bit. I picked it up because it's got Kraven the Hunter on it, and he's supposed to be going after Captain America, which I think is cool. Like, if you have Kraven hunting someone, and it's plausible, like, if he's hunting, Galactus, that's kind of unfair, but Cap, like, it's fair game.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's fair game.
At the end of the day, it's written by Mark Waid, so it's not going to be a bad book.
Yeah, it's not like he's, like, going to hunt the Hulk and then just get, like, flicked into the moon or whatever.
Right.
Fight Spider-Man.
But it ended up being like a cool little bonus for you.
Yeah.
So, also he seems to be making these little appearances before he returns, and I think it's just sort of like like Marvel's way of like penis teasing us back into Wolverine. Because it's been like 4 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and Old Man Logan don't count. Like, I don't count him. He's old Wolverine, but he feels like a different guy to me.
It's like when you like quick fix something and then you like wish you'd just taken the time to actually fix it. When he's like fighting and he gets hurt and he's like, just gonna need an extra 25 minutes to heal this simple wound up real quick, and you're like, man, this guy's really getting old.
Exactly. That was a long running explanation about it, but yeah, that's how I feel. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't actually feel like Logan to me.
There's still cool moments with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Overall, it's like it's run its course. It needs to be.
It absolutely has run its course. It's almost like when you visit your grandfather for the first time on summer vacation and he shows you all this cool shit and you're like, God damn, dude, this guy's strong as fuck for being an old man. He's got grizzled ass hands and he shoots guns and kills varmints and animals, and like he's teaching me how to fish in camp. Like, this old guy's fucking cool as shit. And then 2 months later, you're like, this guy's an old bastard. Like, I can't wait to go back to the city.
Stubborn old bastard.
I can't wait to go back to the city again and just, like, drive in a car. Like... So, yeah, I guess we're ready for Wolverine to come back, I think,
I thought at first you were going to say, it's almost like when you take X-Men out of the 60s and you never let them go home. Send them back home. They don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Beast definitely fucked the world on that one. Like, and they just need to fix it. Like, there's no reason to have like 4 extra Cyclopses and 2 extra gay Icemans and whatever it is. Like, they need to go back to where they came from and let the original X-Men turn back into what this Marvel is trying to do, which is they're supposedly using that legacy brand to bring the heroes back to what they originally are and were, and what the fans originally loved about their stuff to begin with. And I'm all about that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I really enjoy right now Amazing X-Men. That's been really good. Gen X, even though it's getting canceled, which, I mean, that kind of makes my taste a little questionable, but I thought it was cool. All the Terry Dodson covers are an extra sell on that for me.
That is what would sell the show for me. I actually didn't read them myself, but if you said they were good, I take your opinion over that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of cool. They bring back a lot of cool, like the original Gen Xers. Like I was telling you, like Jubilee's in it all the time, Chambers in it all the time, Husk is in it now.
Yeah, so if you like,
it's cool.
If you like New Mutants or Generation X, it was a decent book.
What do you think about that New Mutants trailer for that movie?
It surprised me.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I was like, wow, I might actually go see another Fox X-Men related movie.
What do you think the catches at the end? Because they're like, oh, this isn't like a hospital, it's like a prison or something like that. Like, what bad guy do you think they're actually up against?
Who knows? I mean, it could really be anybody. Dude, it could be Mojo.
Yeah.
They could be in an alternate universe. It could be Arcade or someone stupid like that. Who knows? That's the cool thing about X-Men. They have a lot of mind-affecting villains, and they have a lot of, like, oh, now you're in our universe type of villains, and you don't even know it. So, I'm not sure. But what's cool is that we're seeing some characters that I've always loved. If you're an X-Men fan, I've always loved. Like, the dude from Stranger Things. Older brother.
He plays Jonathan.
Yeah. He's going to be playing Cannonball.
Oh, is that who he is?
He's Cannonball,
That's
yeah.
cool.
And Magic's supposed to be in it.
Yeah, it's that little blonde girl. I think she was in that movie Split. She was like the main girl.
Okay.
I want to say.
Rain Sinclair, also known as Wolfsbane's going to be in it.
Cool.
It's what's her name from Game of Thrones?
Maisie Williams.
Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones is playing her, and which I like to call Mini Russell Crowe.
Dude, it's so funny you said that because with Hulu they have all of South Park on there, so I rewatched the Russell Crowe's fighting around the world.
Maisie Williams fighting around the world.
Oh my god. What would her tugger be? What would her boat be? That
I don't know. Now it would be Wolfsbane, right?
I guess so.
So, yeah, but like that preview surprised me because it almost looked like it was kind of being previewed like a horror movie.
Yeah.
It was definitely being previewed like a horror movie. So,
Insidious 4, good movie. Saw it last night. But yeah, it looked like a horror movie.
yeah, I mean, so I it's different. It's different from the normal Bryan Singer Fox X-Men, which he's no longer with like Fox.
Yeah.
He's not on board on Fox
Awesome.
X-Men at all no more.
So awesome.
He's done.
Now that all the X-Men are back home, what movie would you do if you were in charge of like the next movie? The next movie with the big X, because that's how it would be.
I mean, they're pretty much they've run the mill with the whole Phoenix Saga thing.
Like, would you do like a Dazzler movie or like a multiple man movie? Like, would you focus on like a character and make like just new genre like superhero movie with it?
I don't know. You know what?
Like
if I was starting with the X-Men, I would do the same thing that they did with the Avengers. The only thing is I probably wouldn't start with the original X-Men.
Oh yeah.
No offense to the original X-Men, but I kind of think
Go home. No.
they're just a little boring to start with. I would probably start with giant-sized X-Men.
Okay, yeah.
Like if they were gonna do like a Marvel X-Men movie, like how cool would it be to just see like giant-sized X-Men?
Yeah, like Colossus and Storm.
Colossus,
and
Storm,
Nightcrawler,
Banshee.
Yeah.
And then how cool is it? And there's an applicable death just waiting for you because Thunderbird dies right away.
Yeah.
So there's your death in the movie. And I don't know. I think that would be interesting, but they would have to cast it very close to the heart for all the fans and everything like that.
I'm just wondering if in the future, like, if it's gonna evolve to the point where it's like, oh, cool, we're gonna have like an X-Force John Wick style movie. Like,
supposedly they have 2 X-Forces already in the ring.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they have.
Do you know what the team roster is gonna be for those?
No, they just keep showing pictures of X-Force, but since they already have like the new Deadpool coming out and all that, I'm assuming Cable is going to be in it.
That makes sense.
So it's going to be that Fox relation into Marvel. I guess they're going to see how they do and see if they want to run forward with it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about in the comic books, the Wolverine appearances begin in the comic you got, Captain America 697.
Oh, yeah.
The next appearance is Mighty Thor 703. And the next appearance after that is Amazing Spider-Man 794.
Yeah.
So after that, I don't know if he's going to be getting his own book again or if they're going to be running into Legacy more. But those are the sneak peeks if you're like a big Wolverine fan and you're waiting to see him again. You can at least see him in those last panels.
As a longtime fan, are you excited to see him reunited with older Jean Grey?
No.
Or has it lost all impact?
I feel like it'll be interesting. Like, I guess the first sight again.
Mm.
Like, oh, Wolverine, I was dead, and hey, I was dead
I
too.
know you have to write good dialogue for it to not be like that.
Yeah.
So-
and I mean, if it's written well and it's a good exchange, it's got to be better than the last exchange, which was Old Man Logan meeting young Jean Grey from 1963.
Yeah.
And it felt sort of like,
creepy.
hey, are you my dad or a pedophile? Or do you kind of like me and like the way my body looks? Do you like the way my body looks?
You don't know this yet, but in the future, me and you,
we have something together. And
stew on that.
I could smell you coming off the elevator.
It's not a good pickup line.
Yeah. So, anyway, any exchange is better than that exchange. That was horrible.
Even if you shriek and run away, that's better than that exchange.
Yeah. Even in the Ramos art, which was great, it was still not that great. Not in my opinion. That little connection was kind of strange. That whole book was kind of strange.
Oh yeah, was it Extraordinary?
Yeah,
X-Men?
Extraordinary X-Men. It was good, but it was strange.
Started off good, and then it slowly drew out.
That tends to how what happens to X-Men sometimes.
Yeah.
They need to go back to Uncanny and just go back to Uncanny.
Should we finish it? Should we keep it going? Should we end it? Should we
Yeah.
keep it going? Gen X canceled. Oh,
Look at how fast I was with this
how
cat.
casualties happen. It's that quick.
Yeah, maybe I should make my name into what'd you call it? The birdhouse?
The bird feeder? I don't even know. That was a horrible name.
Oh, that was complete shit.
I mean, that character kind of is complete shit in concept. Like, why would you give a guy a whole new name when he already has, like, Tim Drake, Batman, Robin? Like, he's already known as 3 different things at that point. You're going to call him
And Red
Savior.
Robin.
Yeah.
And Red Robin.
Yeah, and Red Robin, yeah. And then you're going to call him something else on top of it, and all he did was prevent, like, a bad future from happening. That's all. I mean, save millions of lives.
Right. The Savior.
The bird feet.
All right. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got some nifty little statues up here on our table. As always, we shoot from Mythic Comics, and we just want to thank James again, as always, for letting us shoot here and
Woodstock,
rant.
Illinois.
He works all day long, and he kind of puts up with us staying until about 9:30 at night. And I also want to thank John for editing our stuff again. He's from Nerd House Productions.
Nerd House Film Productions.
Yeah, so follow them on Facebook. Follow Mythic Comics on Facebook. And
they're our producers, if you will.
Yeah, right? Like, this stuff is actually cheaper than you would think. It looks like really cool.
This I have at my house.
Do you? You bought one?
I'm not even, right away.
It reminds me of the Pathfinder goblins.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Is it?
Piggy bank, too.
Okay.
It's got a really awesome spot on the back where you open the flap and it stacks in there. I actually was putting quarters in it, and when I put them in there, it made them like in a perfect roll. It's pretty neat.
Cool. So I think originally goes for $30. He's selling it for $25.
Yep.
This Harley Quinn statue, I know it was more originally, but
The Kotobukiya? No? Yeah?
Kotobukiya?
Yeah. The good shit.
Kotobukiya.
That top quality shit.
The sexiest Japanese guy out there.
I don't know what that word means, except for good
Kotobukiya?
statue.
Except for good statue.
When I see that word, I know it means you're gonna get a good.
You're gonna get a nice. Is it a Kotobukiya? Fucking sweet.
All right.
All right. Well, anyway, this one's normally $69.99. He's got a price reduction of 15% off. It's going for $60.
Pretty good.
And if you check out the Spider-Man here on my left-hand side, which will be your right-hand side, I just think it's kind of cool. It looks like he's balancing on the top of a church or something with one leg. And normally you see Spidey in all kinds of crazy poses, but this is a pretty tall statue, and it's $45.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
That's cheap as shit.
Yeah.
So,
Simple.
anyway, yeah, man, he's located in Woodstock.
Yep.
We'll throw the address up there for you again.
As always.
And come out to Mythic Comics. I don't have enough good to say. Meet Jim. Tell him that Danny sent you. He'll probably charge you more money.
As you can see, not only do we have these really cool 3 figures here, but there is tons of stuff behind us. Biggest collection of Marvel Legends you'll find and Star Wars stuff.
Right, so now that we've pimped each other and our friends out,
Those quick plugs.
yeah. We'll probably end up running these podcasts once a month or so, just because, honestly, if you put me on camera, I'm just gonna talk about really, really horrible shit sometimes, and I would rather stick to the basics and talk about the stuff in comics and movies and the stuff everyone wants to hear and things that of that nature, and progress forward candidly.
Yeah, probably about one of these podcasts a month, but you'll still see a lot of content from us, I'm sure, on the YouTube page.
That's never going to
stop.
stop.
Through our Facebook page. We both did kind of little holiday videos. I know some of you guys saw. Thanks to everyone who watched those. But yeah, just try to keep it more social.
Yeah, I barely had the sleep out of my eye in that one that I filmed. I was just like, screw it, fresh off the toilet. Let's send something to the fans.
You called them savages.
Savages. Comic savages, man. We're all comic savages.
Savages.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's right.
It's going savage for your hobby. All right, well, do you have anything else to add?
Cameron Springer's final thoughts, or?
Jesus.
In any case, we didn't get to talk about Doomsday
I
Clock.
show my
but
tits
that
now
was
and hit you with
amazing.
a folding table.
Ooh. That would be on my request of things I could only see one more time before going live. Dan's titties.
All right.
That's my final thought. Dan's titties.
All right, well, until next time, next month or so, this is Danny Humphrey.
February, we'll be talking... Oh. I'm Cameron Kivett.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say next month is February. Black Panther's coming out. We got to see that.
Tune in for our Valentine's Day special.
Write it off as a text.
Anyway, I'm Danny Humphrey.
Cameron Kivett.
This has been Comics Unbagged.